Do you dream of fairies and princesses? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and welcome to the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on December 1st, 2021, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. The next evolution of Downtown Disney is coming, Fantasmic and World of Color are returning, MagicBands are coming to Disneyland, and more. It's all coming your way right after this. It's now December, which means if you're just starting your holiday shopping, well, you're behind. But not to worry. For the Disney fans in your life, just head over to Who's It's and What's It's to order them some magically inspired apparel, sure to make the Disney fans in your life happy. From t-shirts to hats, pins, beanies, jewelry, and more, you can find it all at Who's It's and What's It's. Simply click on the link in this episode's description, and for listeners of this podcast, you can save 15% off of your entire order simply by using code DCTC at checkout.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Starting with some heartbreaking news, the legendary composer Stephen Sondheim has passed away at the age of 91. Sondheim was renowned for his work on numerous iconic Broadway classics including Company, Sweeney Todd, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and many more. Additionally, he provided the music and lyrics for Into the Woods, which was adapted for the screen by Disney in 2014. Meanwhile, a new film version of another Sondheim staple, West Side Story, is set to be released by 20th Century Studios this Christmas. To hear more about the great Stephen Sondheim and his work with Disney, I'd recommend listening to Disney Coast to Coast episode 735, where we discuss his work on Dick Tracy and beyond. On a personal note, I was obsessed with the musical Into the Woods as a kid. I lost count how many productions of that particular show I went to. As you know, I'm a big theater fan, and his influence on the world of musical theater is truly immeasurable. I feel lucky to have lived during his lifetime. Rest in peace, Mr. Sondheim. Marvel fans with an Amazon Alexa device can now take an audio tour of Avengers Campus. On their Twitter account, Disneyland revealed that saying the prompt, "Alexa, launch Avengers Campus recruitment," will unlock a special script that will share some of the experiences guests can have when visiting the land's attractions. While this is a rather minor feature, it's another example of the growing relationship between Disney and Alexa devices. In any case, if you have such a device, it may be worth giving it a try. With Marvel's Hawkeye now streaming on Disney+, Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure has been updated once again. Now, guests may spot Clint Barton and Kate Bishop in the land as they defend Avengers headquarters from an attack by the notorious Tracksuit Mafia. This confrontation will take place on select days as other versions of the show are also performed. Hawkeye, starring Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld, is now streaming on Disney+, with new episodes arriving on Wednesdays. At long last, Disneyland guests may be able to ride Star Wars Rise of the Resistance without needing to obtain a boarding pass first. As of November 22nd, the resort has offered a standby queue for the popular attraction. However, like with web slingers, Disney warns that they may utilize the boarding group virtual queue system as needed, and advises that guests check the Disneyland app for the latest information. A new seating area along the rivers of America at Disneyland has now opened to guests. Dubbed Pelicans Landing, the area expands the harbor galley seating to include a lower-level seating area next to a new dock. Guests may also find some informative story panels about the river's famous boats. Be sure to check out this new area the next time you find yourself in New Orleans Square. After years of rumors, it's finally happening. MagicBands are coming to Disneyland. More accurately, the upcoming MagicBand Plus that was announced during the Walt Disney World 50th Anniversary Celebration press event will also be making its way west next year. The Disney Parks blog does mention that some of the features of MagicBand Plus will vary a bit between the Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World, but more details on that front will be announced later. So, like it or not, get ready for MagicBand Plus's big arrival in 2022. Also at the Disneyland Resort, another Magic Key option has sold out. Disney has announced that the Believe Key, which was the second highest tier behind the also sold out Dream Key, is currently unavailable. This leaves just the $649 Enchant Key and $399 Imagine Key left, although the latter is exclusive to SoCal residents. Of course, those who already have the Believe Key will be able to continue using their pass as normal. For the latest Magic Key info or to purchase one of the remaining keys, be sure to visit Disneyland.com. Over at Walt Disney World, sales of several annual passes are also being paused. In fact, nearly all of them are currently unavailable, as sales of the Incredipass, Sorcerer Pass, and Pirate Pass have all been halted. With the remaining $399 Pixie Dust Pass only being made available to Florida residents, this means that fans in other parts of the country currently have no annual pass options for the resort. It's worth noting that while Disneyland is using the term sold out for their unavailable Magic Keys, Walt Disney World is calling this a pause, so we'll need to stay tuned and see if sales could resume sometime in the new year. Earlier this year, Disney announced that a new musical inspired by Finding Nemo would be replacing the former Finding Nemo the Musical. Now the upcoming project has a name: Finding Nemo, The Big Blue, and Beyond. As announced at Destination D23, the new show will actually take place in the timeline of Finding Dory. When guests take their seats in the theater, they'll find themselves at the Marine Life Institute. As the show begins, they'll catch up with the fish from Dr. P. Sherman's office in Finding Nemo, who have made their way across the ocean to California. The performance will also tell the story of Nemo, incorporating many of the beloved songs and production numbers from the original show. Finding Nemo, The Big Blue, and Beyond is set to premiere at Disney's Animal Kingdom in 2022. It seems we're slowly zeroing in on an opening time frame for the long-in-the-works Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind coaster at Epcot. Now, the new attraction is slated to open in summer 2022. What's more, it's been revealed that Glenn Close will appear in the attraction, reprising her role as Nova Prime from the first Guardians film. As you'll recall, Cosmic Rewind is being billed as a family thrill coaster that boasts ride vehicles that will rotate to help emphasize the story. While we don't have an exact debut date, guests can expect to blast off with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind sometime this summer. Spaceship Earth's Beacons of Magic has received a holiday update. To celebrate the launch of the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays, Imagineers developed a new lighting composition. According to Imagineer Zach Ridley, the show also has nods to Epcot holidays past. This special version of the Spaceship Earth Beacons of Magic will be running alongside the 50th anniversary version through December 30th. One of the most heartwarming new additions to Shanghai Disneyland Resort has just opened. The Cookie Ann Bakery Cafe, inspired by one of Duffy's friends, has opened its doors on Mickey Avenue. The bakery features a number of culinary treats alongside homeware goods and Cookie Ann merchandise. The new location's debut comes as part of Shanghai Disneyland's 5th anniversary Year of Magical Surprises, with even more fun on the way. Next year, the Tokyo Disney Resort will be celebrating the one and only Minnie Mouse as part of a special event. Totally Minnie Mouse will be held from January 18th through March 30th, with offerings at both Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. What's more, the event period will be split into 3 parts, each with a different theme: Cheerful Minnie, Dreaming Minnie, and Enthusiastic Minnie. In addition to special entertainment, the celebration will of course also feature unique merchandise, food items, and more. It all kicks off on January 18th at the Tokyo Disney Resort. When the Disney Wish sets sail next year, a Pirates-themed deck party will be among the entertainment offerings featured. Pirates Rockin' Parlay Party will be hosted by Captain Red, who theme park fans might recognize from the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. Throughout the party, she and her band of headbanging buccaneers will perform famous radio hits, plus a rockin' rendition of the classic pirate tune, Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. Additionally, a fantastic fireworks display includes original arrangements of the Pirates of the Caribbean film score. Pirates Rockin' Parlay Party is just one of several entertainment options that will be available on the upcoming Disney Wish cruise ship. Speaking of Disney Wish Entertainment, at Destination D23, 2 new shows that will take the stage at the Walt Disney Theater were announced. The first is Dizney, The Little Mermaid, which promises a modern and innovative take on the story that will feature dazzling special effects, innovative theatrical design, artistic choreography, and more. Meanwhile, the ship will also host Disney Sees the Adventure. This show will feature Goofy discovering his own inner captain with the help of Captain Minnie and several Disney and Pixar friends. Both offerings can be found aboard the Disney Wish, heading out on its maiden voyage June 9th, 2022. A beloved favorite from Disney's Hilton Head Island Resort will reportedly not be returning. According to a Facebook post by Mike Ayers, aka Blue Crab, he and Shadow the dog will not be returning to the resort. Neither Shadow nor Ayers had appeared since the property reopened in June 2020. For those unfamiliar, Shadow first showed up sniffing around the construction site of Disney's Hilton Head Island Resort back in 1996, and Disney decided to keep Shadow as a unique mascot for the resort. Fans of Shadow are now circulating a petition in hopes of getting the canine mascot back, but only time will tell whether these efforts will be effective. Now it's time to say hello to Kyle Burbank. Hello, Kyle. How are you?
I'm great, Jeffrey. How are you?
Just dandy, my friend. We got some Disney news. Shall we just jump into it?
We have so much Disney news.
We do. I already reported a bunch of it, but of course there's a little bit I got to talk to you about. First thing is, Downtown Disney at the Disneyland Resort is set to receive green spaces and new offerings in its next evolution. Mickey's Toontown 2.0?
Yeah, seriously. The next thing that they're going to be is we're going to immerse our guests with a chance to visit a real-life orange grove.
It's just like green space is the new thing at Disneyland Resort, apparently. We're getting a lot of it. Maybe we'll get some fountains here as well. I wouldn't be surprised, but they're doing something with the end of Downtown Disney that has been sad for quite some time. To remind folks, this area was supposed to become, a 4-diamond hotel or something?
Yeah, it was supposed to be another hotel that they closed off. They were about to close off the security gate. They're all ready to do this, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have... Not that they didn't have approval, but they didn't have the tax incentive anymore because they moved the project over 1,000 feet or something like that.
Yeah, so that got canned, but they had already closed AMC movie theaters, they had already closed ESPN Zone, they had already closed Rainforest Cafe along with Starbucks and Earl of Sandwich. Now, Earl of Sandwich and Starbucks did come back, and we have been enjoying them. Sadly, those will be closing once again at the end of January. I was actually there this past, just a couple days ago, and I was talking to Earl of Sandwich, and I was like, guys, really? Oh, they should relocate Earl of Sandwich.
Yeah, it's the most obvious thing in the world. Or just reincorporate. Maybe it'll be something where it gets reincorporated into whatever lawn that they're building.
I don't know, but it is the once again, the big loss. I feel like we had this conversation before when they were talking about that 4-diamond hotel. It was like, oh man, we're losing Earl of Sandwich. This is horrible. The whole big AMC building, they're just going to bulldoze. And I guess that's going to be the main area. AMC Theater, which has been closed for a few years now, will be demolished and replaced by green spaces and lawns, including a stage for performers. I will say that'll be nice because there is a stage there currently.
I hate where it's placed. I've never enjoyed the placement of that stage.
The best use of that stage was when they put the Love Victor photo op in front of it. That was delightful.
It always felt like a temporary thing, but it was never that temporary. They take it down sometimes, but it mostly just hung around.
Yeah, I should also mention that Sugar Boo and Company, which frankly I'm not very familiar with, they are closing as well because of this West End, closure and redevelopment. I'm happy to see something happening there, but it does feel kind of like, yeah, we're just clearing the space. That's what it sounds like as of right now.
Yeah, it's simultaneously exciting and disappointing because you're like, oh, cool, they're actually doing something with it. It's like, but maybe we'll find out more about it, but it's just like, okay, you're just putting in a lawn. That's kind of nice, but also you've had all this time to think of it, and that's what you came up with?
I can't believe that, a movie theater isn't a profitable thing for Downtown Disney. I guess, well, you know what? I guess it would be good for people staying at the resort, but as a local, I don't go to like AMC at the Universal City Walk very often because I'm like, even though it's like reduced to $5, it's like I don't want to pay to park to go see a movie. And downtown Disney would have the same problem for locals, I guess. Plus, they built the AMC down the street when they closed that one.
Right. The City Walk has a pretty good IMAX, but otherwise, unless I was going to go to a theme park and then go see a movie, which I've done before. Yeah, I totally agree with you that the parking makes it more difficult.
Yeah, so in any case, that's happening at the downtown Disney district. And then some other stuff happening at Disneyland in a very Oprah-like fashion of you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. We had Josh D'Amaro at D23, Destination D23, telling us that we're getting Fantasmic, we're getting World of Color, we're getting the Main Street Electrical Parade, and so much more. It went on and on and on, this list of it's coming back in 2022 at the Disneyland Resort. And, this is all great news, but I got to say, that was a pretty hilarious delivery that we got, I felt.
Yeah, because it was mostly a celebration of stuff that's already come back, and then just with a few things coming back. But yeah, it was pretty humorous. It was also kind of nice to see he kind of like pulled out some of the performers or characters and things from the different stuff that's made a comeback. I just feel like it's still exciting, but we're a bit removed from the parks reopening, especially in Florida. So it didn't have the emotional punch I think he was probably hoping for.
I mean, we did get the confirmation that the Main Street Electrical Parade is indeed returning to Disneyland, which was, highly suggested before, but we now have like the official, it's coming back.
There was that small question as to whether it could be Florida, but yeah, it's Disneyland.
Exactly. So yeah, it's going to be Disneyland. World of Color, which I feel like has had a rough going in the last 5 years. I feel like there have been these very long breaks with no World of Color. Sometimes a pandemic, sometimes the whole, board blows up, like whatever. There's always something with with World of Color, it feels like. And so that's finally coming back. Probably the OG show is my guess.
As OG as they have programmed.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And then Fantasmic, that's been a really long time. I mean, in a perfect scenario, it would be Fantasmic with a 1.0 soundtrack, but I don't think that's happening. We're getting, Fantasmic back, which is good, with perhaps a new seating area, it sounds like.
Well, there's the new seating area that's for quick service. I don't know if they'll be utilizing that. I think it's pretty small. I don't think it would really be used for...
It might be the new secret spot, we'll say, for the people in the know. Pelicans Landing, which I talked about earlier in the episode, will be open. So, I don't know, it's a little far down.
I was going to say it's a little far over. You probably won't have a great view.
Yeah, although I will say I have gone to watch basically you're not watching the show, you're watching backstage of Fantasmic down by the Davy Crockett canoes, and it's kind of fun to watch, and the characters are obviously still all in character and stuff, but it's just a fun little moment if you've seen Fantasmic a couple billion times. So there's that. So Fantasmic's coming back, Main Street Electrical Parade, World of Color, and so much more. Speaking of Fantasmic, though, it is returning to Disney's Hollywood Studios in 2022 as well, with a new scene. And this is kind of not surprising. We've seen them doing a ton of work on Fantasmic. So, but this is great because what's it been? It's been since 98 since they've done anything to this production, really.
Yeah, and I think, I'll say I haven't seen the updated Disneyland one, but I've always preferred Disneyland's to Walt Disney World's, so I hope that they do it justice. I think most people assume that it's the Pocahontas segment that's going to go, and I think that's a good choice.
I would probably agree, although, I mean, I always liked that segment just because it was different than Disneyland's. So, I agree Disneyland's is better, even in its 2.0 version. It's better than Walt Disney World's. But I always appreciated the differences between the two, just because I had seen Disneyland so much. So I didn't hate the Pocahontas segment at all. So the thing that'll be interesting is, let's say that is the segment that gets replaced. Do we really bring back Fantasmic at Walt Disney World without a new Maleficent dragon? I mean, won't people be in an uproar if that happens? No pun intended.
Just because they're saying there's a new scene, it doesn't mean they can't make upgrades to other parts of the show. That wouldn't be a new scene. That would just be an upgrade. So I don't think that they're mutually exclusive.
Do you think that it's going to get a bunch of upgrades? I mean, Disneyland has gotten major upgrades, through the years.
I would think that if they're going to go through the trouble of creating a new scene, that they would change some other stuff. At least I would hope so. But, I wouldn't be placing any bets.
Yeah. So hopefully that happens as well. But once again, good news. Fantasmic returning to Walt Disney World. But now we're going to talk about what is perhaps the most important news of the week. Wouldn't you agree, Kyle?
That's why I put it on the list for you, Jeff.
ABC. I'm not going to lie. I had this on my list just in case just in case Kyle misses this one, because it's a little obscure. We got to talk about the fact that ABC's A Very Boy Band Holiday celebrates the season with 1990s flair on December 6th. Now, ABC's A Very Boy Band Holiday will feature appearances by some of the most beloved members of iconic boy bands, including Joey Fatone, Chris Kirkpatrick, and Lance Bass from NSYNC, Wanya Morris and Sean Stockman from Boyz II Men, Bobby Brown and Michael Bivins from New Edition, Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block, Eric Michael Estrada from O-Town, Nick Lachey, Drew Lachey, Jeff Timmons, and Justin Jeffrey from 98 Degrees, and they're all going to rock the holidays with classic tunes and their group's greatest holiday hits, and some special surprise guests to help celebrate the most wonderful time of the year. This was a delightful surprise, sir.
It's a pretty good lineup. Like it's not just like the people you'd expect. Like half of or I guess 2/3 of Boyz II Men these days, which I don't even think of as a boy band, but I like that they're, I don't want to put down the others by saying real singers, but a different caliber of singer in Boyz II Men.
NSYNC is some of the greatest boy band singers of all time. Just saying. Anyway, no, it's really interesting. There have been some interesting boy band documentaries out there, and they all kind of they say Boyz II Men was kind of the start of that, so which I find interesting, because I definitely got in more in the NSYNC days, and kind of a little earlier with my older sisters through New Kids on the Block and stuff. But I would agree, they're not like the Boyz II Men is not like the first group to come to mind when I think boy band. Yeah,
no, there's actually This Is Pop on Netflix. One of the episodes is about Boyz II Men, and then kind of showing that lineage of how marking it to white teenagers through the boy band.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. It's the special's gonna debut a new original song appropriately titled A Very Boy Band Holiday, performed by NSYNC's Joey Fatone and Boyz II Men's Wanya Morris. And there will be a special performance of This One's for the Children by Joey McIntyre and his son Griffin McIntyre, as well as some of the group's hits and a mix of classic holiday favorites, including Let It Snow, This Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and more. This is going to be a hoot, man. I don't know. It's just 90s boy bands. We're right in that zone of perfect nostalgia. It's just perfection. I'm excited about this, and it kind of came out of left field, it feels like.
Yeah, I saw a mention of it a while ago, just because I ended up going through a lot of ABC press releases and just kind of wondering who they were going to get for it. And like I said, I'm pretty impressed with who they got. There's only 4 members in 98 Degrees, right? So that's the entire band.
Yeah, they got all of 98 Degrees. The thing I'm a little surprised about is, considering how much New Kids on the Block are still doing together these days, I'm surprised there's only one member of that group. Donnie Wahlberg, unless he's off shooting his TV show, maybe, he seems to be very much into keeping that group alive, as well as Jordan Knight,
and they've been touring with Backstreet, so there's no Backstreet either.
Yeah, no Backstreet Boys. That's a little interesting as well, because I know the NSYNC guys are pretty close to some of the Backstreet Boy guys, and
they're all from Orlando, right?
Yeah, and maybe maybe Backstreet Boys are going to have their own Christmas special. We'll see. I don't know. But regardless, it's a great group. It does say with some special guests as well, so who knows? Maybe some of those folks will show up. I doubt Justin Timberlake will show up, but I think that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that. But it's kind of cool, given some of the Disney ties that a lot of these groups have had. Especially NSYNC, being that I think what launched their career was the Backstreet Boys saying no to a Walt Disney World TV special, and NSYNC got to fill that slot, and that helped blow them up. And then 98 Degrees are on the Milan soundtrack, right?
Yeah, and they've definitely done all the holiday specials and stuff in the parks, so it's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. The question, Kyle, are you going to be tuning in?
If I don't see it on ABC, I will be checking it out the next day on Hulu.
Excellent. I like that answer. I will be tuning into ABC for sure. But let's talk about something we teased on the last House of Mouse headlines. You went to Mickey's Very Merriest Christmas Party at Walt Disney World. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, number one, but also you did the abridged Halloween party as well at Magic Kingdom. So I'd kind of like to hear the comparison between the two, because they were both very expensive and both very abridged compared to their normal parties.
Well, I'd say that I've never been to a Christmas party. So first of all, the differences were probably lost on me a bit, but it felt like that one definitely had more entertainment. It felt less abridged than the other one. Well, first of all, it starts when and I've heard this from what Mike Celestino was saying about the Disneyland one, that overlap when you have party guests and day guests, it feels crazy, like super packed. So that's a little difficult to navigate and can be a little frustrating, but as soon as the park closes, it gets a lot better. What I liked about the holiday one, it's a good thing and a bad thing, is we ended up watching the parade, which was, it felt like a full parade. If you didn't know the original and how much was left out of it, it still felt like a decent sized parade. We went straight from that over to, I think that then we did the stage show, the castle show, and then the fireworks. So we did those like back to back to back. And then by that point, it's already like almost midnight. So if the point is to ride rides and you want to see all the entertainment, you're going to have to make a couple of sacrifices, whether that means not getting a good enough spot or just kind of peppering in a couple of attractions in between shows. But I liked all of the entertainment. The fireworks, I had never seen, really enjoyed those. The stage show is apparently like a mix of shows past, kind of put into like a greatest hits with fewer dancers because they needed some extra space. They all are 6 feet apart. There's one part when they bring out Clarabelle where the two performers have masks on, but otherwise they're 6 feet apart the entire time, so they don't wear them. So that's kind of funny. I didn't pay for it, and I don't think it was probably worth the money if I had to pay for it, but I had a great time, and I also got to ride Peter Pan with a walk-on. So that also helped, my opinion, since I haven't done Magic Kingdom's version in forever.
And it was like a $250 ticket, right?
I don't know if it's quite that much. It's that maybe not. Maybe that's like near closer to Christmas. I actually have no idea how much it is, but I think you're in the ballpark. I think it was like 200.
Yeah. On the next episode of Disney Coast to Coast, I'll be talking all about Disney Merriest Nights with our pal Mike Celestino from Laughing Place. We both went and did that. And yeah, I mean, I think we basically agree with you where it's just not enough time. And it is one of those things, even when I did Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, I was like, okay, my night is parade, Hocus Pocus, and fireworks. And like, that's my night because that's what I have time for in this short amount of time. And that's, it's a difficult pill to swallow when the parties cost so much, but it's a choice that you kind of have to make. So sounds like it was fun. Definitely sounds like it was more than Halloween, right? Because Halloween had no stage show and no fireworks.
Halloween just had... I don't remember about the fireworks, quite honestly, but it had cavalcade. So there was like 3 cavalcades instead of just one parade, which just seemed kind of silly. Oh, and the Christmas one had cookies, and the cookies were tasty. You still got the ice cream and the soda and everything, but you also could go get hot cocoa. So basically in the same place where they had the treat trails, they had hot cocoa and snickerdoodle cookies.
Excellent. So, yeah, I do want to mention, you mentioned the cavalcade thing. So I went and did a bunch of the holiday festivities at the theme parks this past weekend, and I went to Disneyland, and I very much I went to the parks this weekend and rode nothing. I was there to see Christmas entertainment, and that was it. And I very much enjoyed that. But it was funny because I, looked through the app and made a schedule for myself of, okay, I'm going to hit this. And then as I walked in the park, this random cavalcade started happening in Disneyland with a few of the vehicles, a bunch of the characters just dancing and walking down the street to holiday music. And I said to one of the cast members, I was like, hey, what is this? Is this on the schedule? And they're like, no, we're just kind of doing this randomly. And I'm like, that's awesome. So cavalcade is the one thing from the pandemic in the Disney parks that I think is sticking around, and I am all for it. this wasn't in place of a parade. We still get a Christmas fantasy parade, plus these random cavalcades. I am 100% for that. I loved it so much.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I love when there's just those random character interactions, and also like parades are fun, but then they're also kind of a pain if you're trying to get around the park. So a short cavalcade like that where it halts traffic a little bit, but it's, a short little thing that's going to be out of the way.
Yeah, and nobody's sitting there waiting for it either.
Right.
It's not like anybody's blocking the sidewalk because nobody really knows when it's going to happen. So that was pretty great. I also want to mention that over at the Festival of the Holidays in Disney California Adventure, they have the stage, which is kind of in the area where you would watch World of Color. And they have, groups come in. And I saw a group for the first time called Fat Cat Swinger. Have you heard of these people?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I've actually seen them.
They're a swing band. They're awesome. Like, they're kind of like ska, I think is what they call it, right? When they bring in...
It sounds like swing. They're related, but no, ska is probably more like upbeat and...
this was super upbeat. Yeah. No, it was probably closer to ska than swing then. They're called Fat Cat Swinger, PHAT. And I can't recommend them enough. Like, honestly, I'd never heard of them. They just kind of sounded interesting to me. So I said, let me go check them out. Love them. They're like my new Thomasina. I miss Thomasina at Disneyland so much. They're like
they're ska, maybe they're my suburban legends.
Yeah, there we go. So, I absolutely loved them. Cannot recommend them enough. Also want to just mention once again, Viva Navidad, one of the best produced street parties ever in a Disney park with so much flippin' energy and such a large cast. It's unbelievable to me. It's just a blast.
Did you get to see Mirabelle?
I did not see Mirabelle. I mean, she was there. I didn't honestly go out of my way to see it. I saw it in Encanto though. And not one of my favorites.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for Christmas Eve, Disney Plus.
Yeah, didn't love it. Didn't anything it, really. I was just like, this is a movie. No strong opinions.
Well, we all know that you're a Lin-Manuel hater, so it's okay.
I wouldn't say a hater. I just don't get the obsession. This one especially, like, not a memorable tune at all. I'll be curious to hear what people think of Encanto. Didn't love it. So there was that. I also want to mention real quickly, of course, we started out this episode with the very sad story about Stephen Sondheim passing away at the age of 91. It's one of those things, we all knew it was coming. He was getting up there in age, but he was healthy for the most part. And it's a huge blow to the theater community, but I just wanted to mention it again because, we have West Side Story coming out, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, and something that hasn't been confirmed as far as I know. I'm curious to hear if you heard anything. I mean, the film's going to be dedicated to him, right?
I haven't heard anything, but I can't imagine that it wouldn't be. I mean, especially because they have the time. It's not like it happened the day of. It's an easy fix. Easy addition.
Yeah, I feel a little bad. I mean, listen, I know he's seen the movie. It's not like he hasn't seen it already. But I mean, this movie was supposed to come out a year ago. It was pushed because of the pandemic and stuff. It makes me a little sad that he didn't live to see this. But you know what? He lived to see a lot of amazing things, and he was an extraordinary talent. And I don't know. Kind of curious. Do you have a favorite show of his or a favorite song of his?
I don't know. I was actually talking to my wife about this. We were kind of talking about Sondheim versus Andrew Lloyd Webber and how Webber is usually a little bit more accessible, whereas Sondheim definitely has a style that for people that love him, really love him, and other people, it can be not grating, but repetitive. And I realized I don't know as many of his shows as I should. I enjoyed so Into the Woods, I kind of have a love-hate thing with. I didn't like it at first because I'm just like, this song just keeps going. But in hindsight, I find myself singing it all the time. So that main little refrain from Into the Woods is probably the one that sticks out the most to me. Just Into the Woods. I have to take the journey. The woods are just trees. The trees are just wood. I have no fear, nor no one should.
Yeah, I was very much obsessed with Into the Woods as a kid. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, I would see it anywhere and everywhere that I could. Every high school production that was doing it, I saw it. Like, it's one of the shows, that and probably Little Shop of Horrors, are the two shows I've seen on stage more than anything. I was obsessed with Into the Woods. And you're right, Andrew Lloyd Webber is much more mainstream. Interestingly, they both have the same birthday, I believe. But Stephen Sondheim, his shows tend to be filled with a lot of that music, like you're talking about, not everybody's cup of tea, but then have one or two of those ballads that are just stunningly gorgeous. And he's written so many. It's incredible. But Into the Woods would be the show for me that I absolutely loved. And I think the other amazing thing about him, I think even more so than his music, was he was like such an educator and helped so many people. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda wouldn't be where he is without Stephen Sondheim, and Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent. I mean, his show was very much helped by Stephen Sondheim, and you just keep hearing that over and over and over again. It was just, and even if you go on YouTube and just watch him teach, like master classes, which are available on YouTube, he was just intelligent on a different level when it comes to music composition. And honestly, it's a void that will not be filled in our lifetime. Probably it's a once in a generation sort of thing. So it's incredible. But I did want to mention, keep your eye out for the dedication on West Side Story would be my guess, even though this has not been officially announced yet.
Oh, I also really like America from West Side Story. I sing that all the time too.
Oh, okay. Well, we should say he's the lyricist of that. He's not the composer of that one. But yes, that's a great movie as well. I'm looking really forward to Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Have I told this story on here? I think I must have. Have I told you this story?
I don't know. You haven't.
Okay. This is a true story. This is a bonkers story, but this is 100% true. When I was in middle school, I was like in a computer graphics class, and one of our assignments was we had to create a fake newspaper. And so that meant having articles and having advertisements and stuff. I kid you not. I was obsessed with West Side Story at the time, and I was obsessed with Steven Spielberg. So the advertisement I made was West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg. That is a 100% true story. So I wish I kept that assignment so badly. I have looked for it because I'll tell you what, I would send that directly to Steven Spielberg if I could find it.
You're like The Simpsons.
Yeah, exactly. Now, folks, we are winding down toward the end of season 8 for Disney Coast to Coast. Next week, I'll be discussing the new Disney Merriest Nights holiday party at Disneyland, as I mentioned, followed by another House of Mouse headlines, and then the season finale. Having said that, this is the final episode of the season where you'll hear Kyle Burbank taking part, as the final House of Mouse headlines in 2 weeks will have an interview attached to it in place of our conversation. So Kyle, thank you once again for taking part in the House of Mouse headlines. I truly couldn't do it without you, as you know, and I'm happy to report that folks will be hearing you again next season on Disney Coast to Coast.
Yeah, well, it's been great, Jeff. I look forward to it every couple of weeks, and I'm excited to do it again.
Yay, and to all of our Jewish listeners, Happy Hanukkah!
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, Kyle. Thank you so much for all of your work on Disney Coast to Coast this season. Of course, I'll be talking to you throughout the hiatus, but these folks won't hear you in their wet little ears anytime soon. But luckily, I can call you whenever I want. But thanks again, and happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that fun stuff.
Thank you. Bye till February.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of MagicBand Plus heading to Disneyland Resort? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. And don't forget to head over to DisneyCoastToCoast.com to order your DCTC 2022 wall and desk calendars. On last week's episode, I chatted with one of the producers of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade about the Disney balloons featured in the parade through the years. I'm really happy with how that episode turned out, so if you haven't listened yet, be sure to do so. And next week, it's all about Disneyland's brand new holiday party, Disney Merriest Nights. The easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of the magic is by subscribing to Disney Coast to Coast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Wherever you search, don't forget, it's Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino. Gain rewards like Robert by visiting patreon.com/Disney, with a Z, CTC. That link, plus the DCTC hotline and some free gifts from me to you, can all be found in this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.